The G20 Foreign Ministers meeting in New Delhi has concluded without a joint statement as members remain divided over the war in Ukraine. Russia's foreign minister says the West is to blame for that, for lack of consensus. Both Moscow and Beijing have criticized Western nations for employing what they called, quote, blackmail and threats against other countries as foreign ministers gathered for talks. The US has been calling on G20 nations to pile more pressure on Russia to end its invasion. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken briefly met with his Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov on the sidelines of the G20 talks. This was their first encounter since the start of the war. US officials say the pair spoke for about 10 minutes and that Mr. Blinken stressed that Washington would support Ukraine to defend itself for as long as it takes. Russia's Interfax news agency says the two diplomats conversed briefly, but added there were no negotiations. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi earlier called on governments to bridge their differences over the war. He's urging leaders to find common ground as tensions boil over between the East and the West. India had wanted its G20 presidency to focus on other global challenges, but Russia's war in Ukraine has dominated the agenda. It's expected that officials will discuss food security. Mr. Blinken is demanding Russia renew a UN broker deal that allows the export of Ukrainian grain. This agreement is set to expire this month. And for more, Ishan Garg joins us live from New Delhi. Ishan, Mr. Lavrov says there will be no joint declaration and another G20 meeting ending without any formal consensus.
Absolutely. I mean, this has been an absolute example of how a major coalition of governments, a major international grouping can be hamstrung by a major geopolitical event. Very similarly as how the finance ministers meeting ended, this meeting has also ended. While the 20 countries have agreed on a wide range of issues, the Russia-Ukraine conflict has been the sticking point. Now, India's foreign minister, Mr. S. Jaishankar, has said that this is something that he has tried to bring a consensus about on, but he has failed, saying that this should not be seen as an absolute failure, though this should be seen as something balanced, because the countries have been able to discuss and come at conclusions about several other topics, ranging all the way from food security to energy crises and also how to strengthen the supply chains. But many analysts are saying that this is going to be a mark on India's resume as the president of the G20 nations, because this is an issue that's likely to continue all the way into September, when the world leaders of these countries are going to meet.
Sean, in the last few days, India has been very keen to stress that there are other issues of global priority, such as, of course, you mentioned food security. Did we see any outcomes, concrete outcomes on that?
Well, there have been several rounds of negotiations and discussions about how the 20 countries can come together to make sure that the food supply chains across the world, the energy supply chains across the world are more resilient. And apart from that, India has been focusing a lot on mobility of global talent from one country to another. Foreign Affairs Minister Mr. S. Jaishankar has said that these are issues that benefit all 20 nations in the grouping, but these are issues of critical importance to the global south, especially to countries that have a wide variety and pool of talent, countries like India, Brazil, South Africa. So these are issues that were on the agenda, and India has also been making a very concerted effort to bring onto the international forum the issue of counter-terrorism. It's a subject that India has highlighted on various multilateral forums, and now on the G20 as well. It has made a very strong concerted push for it as well.
Well, thanks for that. Ishan Garg speaking to us live there from New Delhi.